Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about some of the ongoings of yesterday, was it? Was that when Saudi Arabia played? Yeah, that was quite embarrassing. What I've just watched Adam P's video. I've seen clips of Chael, the guy who pretends to be Anthony Gordon, dotted about on Twitter. It's embarrassing. Imagine being a Newcastle fan and acting like this. It's weird. I mean, I guess he's a Ben still. He's what, like 16, 17? He pretends to be Anthony Gordon on TikTok, which is an interesting choice. I think I remember him. I remember my sister saying he got blocked by Anthony Gordon, which isn't a surprise when you pretend to be someone. That's to be expected. But yes, this isn't just comments on him, it's just in general. Well, not that specifically was about him, because he does pretend to be Anthony Gordon, which is weird. I don't go about pretending to be Paul Dummett, because that would be weird. It's just a weird thing to do, but you know, children are children. They'll do what children do, which isn't a lot in my experience, but not a very proactive child, was I? Anyway, so Saudi Arabia game happened, I think yesterday. It was held at St James's Park. Now, I wasn't a fan of the idea of Saudi games being held at St James's, but it is money. I said this in a video, money's money at this point, and we do need a little bit more if we want to get to the place we want to get to. So I understand trying to commercialise and appeal to different countries. Having games at St James's Park can do that. I believe we could have done it in a different way, where we didn't have to host Saudi Arabia for 2 games. Because as we've seen, probably not going to be great. Now, there is an anti... Oh, I didn't even know what it's called. It's something against Saudi sports washing. Newcastle specific group. Newcastle fans, I think, that are against the sports washing, which I don't think it is sports washing being owned by Saudi and whatnot, but I don't care anymore. But yeah, there was protests outside, pretty much, and then there was this one guy, I don't know what his name was, it might be Tony, but it might not be as well, who was having discussions that just turned into arguments about... No, I reckon he kept it to a discussion. He was quite well good with it. He did quite well in just speaking about it. Having discussions with people. I only saw what Adam P put up, and then a different angle from what Chael was talking about. Because again, that's all that's been on Twitter this morning. We'll have a quiet week at some point where we're not having a go at something. We'll wait a while, but we'll have one. Yes. So, the first guy I talked to in Adam's video was pretty alright. They could have had a proper discussion. It seemed like it was going that way. And then the Don walked off. Fair enough. Places to be, people to see. Then there was Chael, who was an absolute knob about everything. I don't know why Tony engaged in the conversation. I would have left, personally. I don't think that conversation wasn't doing anything. None of the kids were willing to have an actual discussion about real life topics because they're kids. The care isn't there. Understandable. My care is also not there. I'm a 21-year-old. I'm not too fussed about it. So 17-year-olds and younger, there was like 12-year-olds there who were having some sort of discussion. They're obviously not going to know anything, or they're going to have very little knowledge. You leave that conversation, especially the one with Chael, because that was stupid. I don't know what... It was very childish. Very, very to impress the people he was with. Which, yeah, sure, fine, whatever. Who cares? Him a little bit too much. I don't know why he was so hell-bent on making himself look stupid. And then there was the guy after who, some tubby bloke, who was asking about the golf and the F1 and the boxing being going to Saudi Arabia, which, yeah, that is something to also protest, I guess, if that's what you're into. But these people might not have an interest in the F1 and the boxing and the golf, which that's not something they're going to protest against then. Just a little bit of food for thought. I think the whole situation was stupid, though. I don't know why they felt the need to argue with children. I think that's where the line should be drawn, not argue with someone who isn't willing to actually listen. Especially when that person says who and then who asked. That's very grown up. That's good. That's really what you want to have a discussion about when people are talking about how Saudi Arabia, the country, isn't very good with their, arrestings and beheadings and whatnot. So some valid points brought up by the actual protesting group that weren't getting a listening to, because everyone thinks it's a vendetta against Newcastle, which I don't think it is. It could be. I could be reading the situation entirely wrong. That's okay. I understand that. But in general, there should probably be more protests to those sort of ownerships if there is connections to the people who are in ownership, which is the PIF group, to the actual beheadings and whatnot of whoever. I can't comment a lot about it because, again, I don't know about a lot of it, as I am very ignorant, I believe would be the word. So it's embarrassing from a Newcastle standpoint to have to be lumped together with these kinds of people who argue and don't listen because they're children, and then that gets put out on social media because it gets the views. It's whatever. The man pretends to be Anthony Gordon on TikTok to get views, which is stupid. But again, that's not my business. I'm an adult. What am I commenting about a child for? God knows. It's got us riled up. That's why. It's stupid and it's embarrassing. Yeah, lovely. Anyway, nothing else has happened. And that's the only thing that's happened today. It was interesting. Because I seen it was the person that I know of straight away. God knows. I hope it doesn't happen again. Or I hope if it does, if the protests happen again, which I don't mind happening, then I hope it happens in a more civilised way, in where there's not just going to be arguments and it's going to be an actual discussion. Am I going to be there for it? Absolutely bloody not. I've got a life to pretend to live, so I'm going to carry on pretending to live that life. Yeah, lovely. That's that. That's pretty much it. That's all that's happened. The England game kicks off in a few hours, so I might be live on Twitch watching the game. Who knows? Just get that in there. I'm sure that's not going to add it on. Stupid. Just stupid. I don't know what was the need of all the arguing and lack of discussion. Very closed minds. And everyone seems to think that everyone's against them because they bought Newcastle, which, I mean, you could say it last season when blocks were being put up for sponsorships and whatnot. I would agree. The big teams were putting blocks up to try and stop Newcastle becoming the 7th big team. But protest, I think, is stupid, because is anything really going to happen from it? I doubt it. It's a group of people. And then you've got the other group of people who are like very, you're only saying this because they bought Newcastle, which isn't the case. It's because their human rights are an absolute shambles. And if you lived in that country, I'm sure you would feel the same. But you don't. You live in this one, which is awful, but for different reasons. Mental. Anyway, if you went to the game, I hope you enjoyed. I'm sure it was great. Stupid. Absolutely stupid. Anyways, yes, I'm going to go now. That's pretty much all I had to say. It was stupid and embarrassing. And stop having discussions with children about real life matters, because a lot of them don't have a clue about it. Lovely stuff. I'll see you in the next one. In a bit, pal.